Welcome, guys. I'm Captain Foley. This is Shelf by Shelf, Chapter 9. I just finished recording this video like 2 hours ago and realized I said Chapter 10 multiple times throughout it. This is actually Chapter 9 that we're looking at today, not Chapter 10. So every time I say Chapter 10, just do a face palm for me because I definitely did. I just wanted to lead with that. All right, so now let's get into the video. Check out the shelf. Shelf 9, Chapter 9 of Shelf by Shelf, not Chapter 10. I'm an idiot. Here is a preview of the shelf. Do you want to see more? Welcome back, guys. I'm Captain Foley, and it's time for another episode of Shelf by Shelf. This is Chapter 10, this many. If you haven't checked out the other chapters, please go do so. So we're continuing our look at the shelves. This is, of course, the 10th shelf. So let's get into it and let's take a look and see exactly what's on this shelf. I'll give you a quick sneak peek and you can go from there. So let's get into it. All right, so here is the shelf. Quite a bit of stuff. There's also books behind there and lots of really cool stuff. So let's get into it and check it out. All right, so there's your sneak peek of shelf number 10. Lots of cool stuff on that one. And yeah, we're going to get into it. I'm going to continue doing these. This is, like I said, the 10th episode. So if you haven't checked out the other ones, please go do so. People always ask me when I'm doing lives, what are on the shelves in here. The point of this series is to show them the shelves, shelf by shelf. As you can see, there's lots of stuff to look at. Even my dogs. There's a pug, and that's Lola, and that's Dot. Precious is down there too, but you just can't see her. So there's a lot of stuff in the library here. I'm going to be continuing this series until it's done, and then I got other shelves to look at with collectibles and stuff. So it'll continue the shelf by shelf vibe. And yeah, so anyway, let's get into it. Look at the stuff on top of these 2 rows of books first. Now you've probably noticed some swords on there, little swords. As you can see, I got big swords here. I do collect swords. Maybe I'll have to do a series sword by sword. Is that something anyone would want to see? I don't know, let me know. But yeah, I've got a bunch of little letter openers here we're going to take a quick look at and go through. So this one, of course, is from Lord of the Rings. This is not a letter opener. This is literally just, it's a toy sword that came with a figure, I believe. I don't have the figure. I don't remember where I got the sword, but it's a little bent, but there is a sword. Is it Aragon's? I don't even know. It's probably important. There is Frodo's little sword as well. This also is not a letter opener. This is, in fact, a pen. So, little hilt. Just slides in there. I think I got this in a nerd block or a loot crate, but very nicely detailed. And we got a rapier. This is, in fact, a letter opener. This is an old one, an antique one. I'm not sure how old, but this was given to me by Sylvia a few years ago for Christmas. And it's pretty nice. Next up, we got one. This is a Toledo from Toledo's Sword Company. Toledo makes good swords, and I actually used to have a full-size version of this, which is a single-handed sword. However, divorce happened, didn't get my sword collection back. I've had to rebuild since, and I still haven't acquired a lot of the old pieces I had, so that's a story for another day. Here's another one of the Toledo. This one's a Crusader sword. Very intricate. And again, just a letter opener, slicing open those letters. Sorry for the inconsistent lighting. It's overcast and then spots the sun every once in a while, so I apologize. But here's one of my favorite swords, the Excalibur, with the kind of a dirty gold or a bronzy colored handle. First sword I ever got was from my dad. It was this. It's a hand-and-a-half broadsword, and I absolutely love the design. There are different variations of it that have the design down here further, which are not my favorite. This is almost identical to the full-size one. The design on the blade is not as intricate here, obviously, but I also have a little necklace that is also an exact replica of my full sword, which is what started my sword collecting and whatnot. And if you guys know, if you've been watching my other shelf-by-shelf videos, you know I'm a big fan of King Arthur and especially the movie Excalibur. And so Excalibur is my favorite sword. And like I said, the first one I ever got from my dad, again, never got it back from my ex. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, so moving to the books that were on there. At the back we have this Robinson Crusoe book by Daniel Defoe. And on the flip side is Swiss Family Robinson. So this is one of those double books. Companion library. Very old book. And it's literally just the two novels, and I love that you can just flip it. Flip it to get the book. He's been around forever, and I don't know when these were acquired. This one was printed in 1963, though. So, 1963. I should hold them over here so I don't block my face, but it's fine. All right, so there's that. The Art of Sign Language. Sylvia's studied some sign language, and this is just basically teaches you how to sign. She's not fluent in it or anything. I know a few things like thank you and cookie and monster. Used to have a friend who, for kids, needed sign language, so I used to always go over and be the cookie monster and chase them around. So anyway, next up we got Unusually Stupid Americans, a compendium of all American stupidity. Stupid food in the USA, stupid money and stocks in the USA. There's a section on Walmart in here. Different news headlines. Just silly little anecdotes about the Americans. No offense, guys. Every country has their stupid people. But also up here, and this is going to be a particularly ongoing theme with this shelf, there is one of the Dragonriders of Pern books. This is Dragon's Kin. Now, the original Dragonriders of Pern books were all written by Anne McCaffrey. This one's written by her son, Todd McCaffrey, but her name gets top billing because it's recognized. I haven't read this one. I've read almost all the Dragonriders of Pern books. I read one of the ones that Todd has done. He tries to encapsulate his mom's style of storytelling and writing, and it doesn't really work. So this is one of the newest ones. We'll go through the other ones in a minute here, but yeah, I'm a huge Dragonriders of Pern fan. So now these two are part of a trilogy. There's the Ark and Trident's Forge, and these are written by Pat Talmanson, who's not a friend of mine, but an acquaintance. He goes to Wonderfest. I've hung out with him quite a few times. He actually gave me these. Well, that's not true. He sold these to me, but I wanted to support him. So, and he inscribed them, Stuart, I hope you love it, and go Mustangs. He also drives a Mustang, and I'm a Camaro guy, so kind of had a rivalry. And I thought this was referring to his car. Turns out the sports team in this world is the Mustangs. So it's about escaping a dying Earth and moving out amongst the stars. Yeah, really interesting series. I suggest checking it out. Another one, Trident's Forge, same characters, same thing. This one, the inscription is Stuart, welcome to Atlantis. So, I don't know says the names of the other ones in here. Yeah, so the Ark is first, and then Trident's Forge, and then there's another one after. So if you're looking to get these, 2 centuries after Earth, and the killing has started again. I've got to solve a murder. So anyway, if you're interested in these, look up Patrick Tomlinson. The Ark is the first one, and then I think he's written a few since this original trilogy as well. But anyway, so there are those. That's the top. Now we're going to move to the back row, look at those, and then move to the stuff that I want to display more, which is at the front, which is the more interesting stuff, I would think. So let's get into that. So I just realized here that some of the ones at the back are actually duplicates of some of the ones on the front, either older editions, older copies, or just duplicates I had. So I'm not going to talk about them specifically until I get to the front row, but this one I can talk about. This is Anne McCaffrey's Dragon's Dawn. This is the prequel to the Dragonriders of Pern series, where humans go out and colonize a planet called Pern, and then they run into some problems with a space-borne spore that becomes thread. It's a fantastic series of books. Anyway, this is the prequel to that. This mixes a lot of sci-fi, like Expanse style stuff with fantasy with dragons, and a really fantastic series. This is amazing, this book. So this is the prequel, so this is the one I can talk about first. And then, yeah, the next one too, actually, because this is the Chronicles of Pern First Fall. This is about the first fall where they actually have to genetically engineer dragons to fight the thread. And you can see they still have some modern technology and stuff. But as the centuries go by, they forget about... things become legend, essentially. So this is a bunch of well, not short stories. This is just... it is short stories. They're different. They're smaller volumes or books in this one volume, but it's the early Chronicles of Pern. So this one's first, and then this one. So, and I highly recommend the Dragonriders of Pern series. Don't necessarily start out with these ones though. It's kind of like Star Wars. You should probably watch them in release order. Same with the books. You should probably read them in the correct order. This was the 4th one in the series. Moretta, Dragon Lady of Pern. This is my old copy from when I was in high school. It's also a former library edition, so it's quite damaged. But it's withdrawn from their collection, and I picked it up. And I like having kind of beat up versions of books because I like my books to be nice and crisp spines. I hate breaking the spines on books, so I don't mind having a beat up one that I can literally bend to read. But Moretta is also an early story. This happens before the very first book in the series. This is actually the 4th or the 5th one that she released. I also got the Renegades of Pern. I'm pretty sure this falls around the same time as Moretta. But anyway, yeah, it's about... there's some really great artwork in these. Like, I love the dragons. But this is about the Renegades of Pern, the people who are weirless. The weir is where dragons live, and they protect holds or forts that supply them with their food for the dragons and for themselves. They're kind of the elite because they protect the planet. It's a whole thing. Anyway, these guys don't have a hold or a fort to live in. It's about gypsies, essentially, or travelers. Anyway, The Girl Who Heard Dragons includes 25 works of art by Michael Whelan. Michael Whelan does all of these, most of the covers for the Dragonriders of Pern, at least most of the editions. And it does have some of his artwork in here, as it says there. And so, yeah, this is a story about somebody who's not a dragon rider that can hear the thoughts of dragons, because dragons communicate telepathically with their riders, and that bond is forged when they hatch. They select their rider. It's kind of like Harry Potter, you know, where the wand selects the magician. Same thing. But anyway, there's that one. And then there's the Skies of Pern, which is a later one as well. Anyway, so we got those. I don't know why these are back there necessarily, because they are... We'll see what's at the front. Hold on. We just got to finish at the back. So let's get the rest of the books from the back and go on from there. Yeah, because none of the rest of the back shelf are Dragonriders of Pern books. So I don't know what's going on with the way I have that organized. It'll need to be amended. Anyway, so next up is Anita Fraser, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Just talking about that a minute ago, but huge fan of King Arthur, and this is a novel about them. The exploits of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table come brilliantly to life in this masterly retold story by Antonia Fraser. Antonio, my God. Anyway, so next up we got Sasquatch. Bigfoot, the abominable snowman, an ancient myth, or the missing link in man's evolution. And this, of course, includes a bunch of the Zapruder film and pictures of footprints and such. So this has been around forever as well, as long as I can remember. When was this published? 1973, so a year before I was born. But I've had this with me for a long time, into the cryptids and the unknown and stuff like that. So got the novelization of The Fifth Element. I haven't read this, so I don't know if it's better than the movie. Probably not, because these are usually based on the scripts. Yeah, based on the screenplay. So Fifth Element, great movie. Multi-pass. All right, speaking of novelizations of movies, I got Mortal Kombat, the novelization. Again, I haven't read it, but it's got a bunch of pictures from the film in the middle. I like Mortal Kombat, the movie. It's not an epic by any stretch of the imagination, but now a major motion picture from New Line Cinema. This has also been around since I can remember. I don't know if this was one of my brothers at one point, but it eventually became mine. It's Battlestar Galactica. Look at the art on that. The greatest space epic ever from ABC TV and Universal by Glenn Larson and Robert Thurston. So it's a novelization of the miniseries that started Battlestar Galactica. Look at the original concept for the Battlestar. A vast and ancient starship probes the universe for the legendary lost planet, Earth. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So, yeah, this is an old book as well. Very small print also. It's like tiny. But no pictures in it or anything like that from the show, so. Now, this kind of carries on from the theme of the last shelf, but we've got another Choose Your Own Adventure book. This is Time Machine number 14, Blade of the Guillotine. So just a Choose Your Own Adventure book, one of the Scholastic Book Fair books. And it's about a time traveler, and you need to not die. So it is a really great book. Again, one that I've had forever and have fond memories of. So, special book club edition. Also got Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Quite an interesting image on the front. But it's just the novelization of Frankenstein. I don't know, it's a novel. It's the story of Frankenstein. Frankenstein's not a novelization. Another Choose Your Own Adventure book, Dinosaur Island. Same type of deal. You guys know the routine. Choose Your Own Adventure. Ooh. Apparently I have two of these because back in episode 8, we also have one of these. Forever Night, Stirring of Dust. This is the exact same book as was in chapter 8. Fantastic show. I was big into vampires when I was late teens, early 20s. And this show is about a 600-year-old detective, or a 600-year-old vampire who's a detective in Toronto, Ontario. So, named Nick Knight, and the show's called Forever Night. Fantastic show. I actually know Garrett Wynne Davies. I've met him a few times because he lives just outside Stratford, which is basically where I grew up, and got a signed picture of him and stuff like that. So, anyway, if you're a vampire fan, you owe it to yourself to watch Forever Night. We got Mist, the Book of Atris. It's one of the Mist novels. Really nice artwork there. Yeah, based on the game Mist. Pretty sure I read this a long time ago, but I don't remember anything about it, so I can't tell you if it's good or not. We've got Red Death. This was one that I purchased probably when I was like 18, 19. Big into vampires at the time, and it just tells the story of a vampire. It's actually from the vampire... is it from the Praise for Peon Elrond's acclaimed series, The Vampire Files? I don't know if it's from the Vampire Files. From the author of the Vampire Files. A vampire's kiss can conquer war and death. Yeah, it's just a story about a vampire. So, again, don't remember. This one's called Bloodlines. It is about well, it says here, long imprisoned by the magic of Egypt's gods, an ancient force of evil is about to be loosed upon an unsuspecting Toronto. This is about an ancient mummy that is brought to the ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto, Ontario. There is a curse involved with it, and it also includes a 450-year-old vampire who is investigating the deaths at the ROM because of this mummy. It kind of ties into Forever Night. The very first episode of Forever Night, the pilot episodes, included an ancient relic that came to the Royal Ontario Museum. That it was a jade goblet that could turn vampires into humans, was the legend. And the original pilot for Forever Night starred Rick Springfield as Nick Knight, and then when it became a series, it became Garrett Wynne Davies. So there's the pilot with Rick Springfield, and then there's the pilot for the series, which is the same story but a little bit different with the different actors. This is kind of based loosely on that as well, or that's based on this, one or the other, but it's about a vampire investigating murders involving an ancient Egyptian curse. So kind of right up my alley at the time when I got this. And can you go wrong? Probably not. This one is Phantoms. I'm also a huge Phantom of the Opera fan. This is a story of, or a collection of short stories about the Phantom of the Opera, essentially. Original tales of terror, from the Phantom of the Paris Opera to the dark side of New York's fashion scene to a soap opera cursed by a ghostly doom. They're kind of all takes on the Phantom of the Opera mythos and legend. And again, one of my favorite things. I got Jack the Ripper, Sherlock Holmes, Phantom of the Opera, vampires. I got a lot of interests, as this room might speak to. I don't know. We'll have to see. This is Those Who Hunt the Night, and it is about vampire hunters in Victorian England, I believe, this one. So yeah, vampires running amok in London, England, and yeah. Okay, we got this, kinkyforeplay.ca. This is an ad for, anyway, it's there. I'm sharing everything with you guys. Next up, the surprising story of real-life vampires in the 20th century. Vampires Among Us. Again, another collection of stories talking about real-life things involving vampires. And it's been a long time since I've read this, so I don't remember any of the stories specifically, but yeah, it just talks about, you know, the legend. For centuries, vampires have been the stuff of myth, legend, and dreams and nightmares. Now, based on dozens of interviews with first-person accounts. Yeah, it talks about the real-life vampirism. So, anyway, very cool. Sorry for all the noise outside. Never rains, but it pours. Nothing happens on my street till I start filming. And of course, we got H.G. Wells, The Time Machine. Love this story. Love H.G. Wells. Love the time travel stories. This is just great. I also love the original movie. Can't remember the name of the actor now. But yeah, I love H.G. Wells and The Time Machine. So that's all the stuff at the back of the shelf. Now we're going to move to the front. We're going to talk about Dragonriders of Pern probably for quite a bit. Let's get to it. All right, now moving to the front of the shelf. This is going to seem like deja vu, but we got Dragon's Dawn. This is a prequel to, anyway, I'm not going to get into it. These are my better copies, and these are all chronologically in order listed now. So it's not just them. There's a few others at the end here that aren't Dragonriders of Pern related. So then we got the Chronicles of Pern, First Fall. I've already talked about that a little bit. I love the inclusion of like modern technology, like a laser drill with the dragons, because that's not how the series starts. When you start with the first book that she wrote, which is called Dragonflight. Like I said, things get lost to time. Myths or history becomes legend, becomes myth. It's a fantastic series. So, and we got Dragon's Eye, the next in the series. I'm not a big fan of that artwork. That dragon looks a little wonky, but the Starstone, yeah. Anyway, read the books, you'll understand. But Dragon's Eye, this is the setting up of the Starstones, getting all the weirs ready for each time the thread appears, because it's every 90 years. Goes away for a while, and then when the red sun lines up with the Starstone, that means that there's another pass happening, and as this heavenly body, this moon, it's actually like a rogue asteroid essentially that travels through an Oort cloud, and it picks up these spores in the Oort cloud, and when it comes by Pern, the spores drop to the planet, and they're regular spores, and then they hit the atmosphere, they turn into what's called thread, silvery thread, that burns anything it touches. So any foliage, it just eats through grass, anything organic, animals. So all the weirs are created in mountainous regions where there's only rock. So it's a whole thing. Anyway, but yeah, that's the setting up of the dragon, or the Starstone. And we got Moretta, Dragon Lady of Pern. Love the art on that. Really fantastic. Love these dragons. Love the Dragonriders of Pern art. It's just so good. And I'm not a big fan of fantasy. And I loved these books as a kid in high school. Even though they seemed fantasy, but then it's actually like science fiction fantasy, because it's a mixture of both. So it's great. Next up is Anne McCaffrey. It's just a short story called Norelka's Journey. I'm really sorry for the noise on the street. That is the garbage trucks doing their thing. And of course, it's right after Christmas, so there's like garbage truck followed by recycling truck followed by whatever. Just crazy. All right, so here's where the series started. Dragonflight, and again, fantastic artwork. Absolutely adore the artwork in the Dragonriders of Pern series. This is the first book in the series, if you're going to read them. And it's about the search for a werewoman, a new werewoman, after there's been no thread falling for 400 years, because just fluke, pure chance. And people have kind of earned a little bit of disrespect for the Dragonriders because they're not important, because they don't do anything, yet they use all the resources. But every 100 years, or I forget how long the passes are, a pass of the thread lasts for about 50 to 60 years, and I can't remember how long until it comes back again. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but anyway, so yeah, the Dragonriders have kind of become a little bit of, there's a little bit of revolt happening. Anyway, it's the whole thing. Anyway, that's the story, Dragonflight, about finding a new werewoman. Her name is Lessa. And if you know, you know. If you don't, check it out. It's really good. I'm really passionate about these because these were big in my life when I was in high school and early 20s, and I just absolutely adore Dragonriders. So next in the series is Volume 2 of the Dragonriders of Pern, Dragon Quest. And again, fantastic art. There, the dragons attacking the thread. Now, thread is brainless. It's not organic. It doesn't think. But dragons basically chew firestone, an element called firestone, lots of phosphorus in it, and that creates the ability to breathe fire. And you can see more thread falling and more dragons fighting it. I could go into I'm going to do a video about it at some point because I absolutely love the lore. When they first got to Pern, as you saw on the cover of Dragon's Dawn, they had small, tiny dragons, and the dragons could teleport. They would be flying around, all of a sudden they'd be over there. So they also realized that the dragons can telepathically speak to people and become linked with one specific person. So they genetically engineered the dragons to become bigger so that they could fly them and battle this thread. And once the thread falls, a lot of times you need to teleport. So you go what's called the between, and it takes the rider and the dragon to another spot. It's great. Anyway, next up is, and these are all not alphabetical. These are all chronological according to the timeline of Pern. So this is not the next book in the series. So these two, Dragonflight and Dragon Quest, first and second book, I'll tell you when the third one is, which we're not going to get to for a minute here. So anyway, this is the Master Harper of Pern. Master Harper is the one that's responsible for teaching all of the children and all of the forts and holds, all the songs and poems about Dragonriders, because the best way to teach a culture is to have repetition, have the songs and stuff memorized. That's how they tell their history. Now there's 3 short stories here that are called the Harper Hall Trilogy, because the Master Harper of Pern, this is a book written later by her, but these other ones come after that one. So volume 1 is Dragon's Song. Not as good at art on those, but, and then Dragon Singer, which is volume 2, and these are shorter books. Falling Dragon there. And then the third in this trilogy is Dragon Drums. Love the art. And we get the third book that she wrote, the third of the original 4, which is this one, The White Dragon. This is about a pygmy dragon. This is one of the smallest dragons right there. Again, fantastic art. And this dragon's an anomaly because it's an albino and it's small. It's like the runt, but it's also very important in this story. Let's put it that way. The dragons are different colors. There's blue, brown, bronze, and gold. The golds are the queens. The bronze are the males that fly the queens. They're quite large. The queens are bigger, and then the browns and the blues are smaller. And there's also green dragons, which are smaller than the blues, I believe. And then this white dragon, which is that size, fully grown, which is still pretty big. Anyway, yes, definitely worth a look at into the world of Pern if you want some really good science fiction, fantasy storytelling. We got Renegades of Pern, which you've seen already in the back row there. We've got The Girl Who Heard Dragons again. Don't know why I have multiple copies of each. Got All the Weirs of Pern. There's the white dragon again on that one. Love the artwork. I did have All the Weirs of Pern there, but it was the newer collection or the newer printing. But yeah. And we got the dolphins of Pern, because the colonists brought dolphins to the planet, which eventually were forgotten about, lived in the seas for centuries, and then they rediscovered them. It's a whole story. Anyway. Now we're done with the Dragonriders of Pern stuff. I highly recommend Dragonriders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. Dragonriders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. Go check it out. But now we're getting into another one of my interests, and there's only like 3 more books left here, but we'll get into more of this stuff later on another shelf as well. So this is the Diary of Jack the Ripper. I'm a bit of a ripperologist, or at least I used to be, and love studying the case and everything involved with the Ripper. So many great theories, and there is a lot of crime scene photos, and anyway. But yeah, the Diary of Jack the Ripper, the chilling confessions of James Maybrick. This is a fictional a theory, essentially, of who Jack the Ripper was. Really fantastic. We also got Ripper. See the vampire fangs? You know where this is going, right? He hid in the shadows of darkened London streets, and he had a deadly touch. Victorian England, 1888. Is Jack the Ripper, or was Jack the Ripper, a vampire? Maybe read this book and find out. Then we got Patricia Cornwell, Portrait of a Killer, Jack the Ripper, case closed. Again, not really case closed, just another theory. There she is on the back. She looks like Princess Di, but yeah, this is her theory of who the killer actually was. Again, includes a lot of the original notes and evidence. So yeah, this is, or used to be, one of my biggest interests. Here, Kelly. Going back to when I was a kid and or a teenager, and I was a big fan of Sherlock Holmes and just murder mysteries in general, mysteries of the unknown, stuff like that. And so Jack the Ripper, Victorian England, it's all kind of right up my alley. Big fan. I got a lot more Jack the Ripper books up there, but you won't get to those for another 5 or 6 chapters of this series. So anyway, that's it for now. For those shelves, I'm going to give you a sneak peek of the next shelf, which is going to be a shorter video because there's not a whole lot on that, relatively speaking. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching, but don't go anywhere. Take a peek at the next shelf, see if there's anything that interests you, and make sure you come back for that one. I'm going to show you guys right now. All right, so as promised, not a whole lot to talk about for the next one, so it'll be a much shorter episode, but still some interesting things. So that's the preview, and you just saw this one, so check out the other chapters if you haven't already done so. But yes, this is the next one, so take a look. If there's anything you're interested in, be sure to check it out. All right, well, there you have it, a sneak peek for next time for Chapter 11 of Shelf by Shelf. But I'd like to thank you right now for enjoying this episode of Shelf by Shelf, which was Chapter 10. We're a decade of shelves in. I don't know how that works. But anyway, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know any comments you want to leave for me down below, whether you know about the Dragonriders of Pern series, whether you're interested in it. What do you know about Jack the Ripper? What do you know about any of the things I talked about? Do you have any of these books? Let me know in the comment section. And I just want to hear from you guys. Hopefully a lot of you are enjoying the series. I'm enjoying making it. It's bringing up a lot of old memories and kind of reminding me of where some things are that I haven't seen for a while. So I'm really enjoying it, and I hope you guys are as well. So make sure you hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, which is the Captain Foley personal channel. And don't forget to subscribe to the Trekyards channel as well. Love Star Trek also, but it's not my only interest. So check that out. And also check out another video by me right over here. So until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. Go read a book, specifically Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey. Get into the Dragonriders of Pern series. You won't be disappointed. Bye, guys.